3 o'clock kickoff here at Vicarage Road, the home of the Hornets, where Watford will be taking on Wolverhampton Wanderers. So we've got lots to bring you in the next 45 minutes or so. As we build up towards kickoff, we'll be hearing from Emmanuel Dennis. We'll also be taking a detailed look at this afternoon's opponents, Wolves. We're going to be paying our own Hive Live tribute to our now former club captain, feels weird saying that still, Troy Deeney, as well as revealing the winners of the August Player of the Month and Goal of the Month award. So lots coming up over the next 45 minutes here on Hive Live, and here with me to get through all of that, my partner in crime for the afternoon, Tommy Mooney. Hello.
Good afternoon.
How's things?
Very well, thank you.
How was the international break? You been golfing?
I have played some golf.
Of course.
Yeah, I played golf a couple of times, won a couple of times, lost a couple of times, so I'll take that.
You don't do losing, do you?
Well, at some point they would have cheated. We know that.
Now the football's back, it's getting in the way, isn't it?
Yeah, well, a little bit, but I've got to say I'm looking forward to seeing a good game of football and back here at home game as well. It seems so long ago since we were last back here.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? I mean, it has been quite a few weeks. You mentioned there you've been doing a little bit of golf, but anything else you've been up to during the break that might take Watford fans by surprise? Not so obvious?
No, nothing at all for me, Emma. What about you?
I've had quite a quiet couple of weeks as well, actually, so it's good to be back here for the Wolves game. It's strange having an international break, isn't it? So soon into the season. Do you imagine it will break up the flow for the players? Do you think Watford maybe came at a good time?
No, I think Xisco would have preferred to have had his players on the training ground for an extended period rather than be flying off all over the world and playing games where they're not so much monitored. But I think because of the results, you maybe wanted a break, but I think the players on the training ground is going to improve the team. So them being away and risking being injured, I think Xisco will be happy to get them back and back fit and then start planning for the game.
I suppose with the timing of the transfer window closing as well, it does mean though he knows his squad now. He's finally got his set of players. Yeah,
I suppose that's the huge positive. Is he knows exactly where he's at, who he's got, that he can utilise in that squad. And certainly, I think going on from the tournament in the summer, then the transfer window, changing divisions, it's been quite a turbulent time. So it's been difficult. Hopefully now it shallows out and everything's a little bit more steady.
And we're going to talk about Wolves in a lot of depth, but as a fixture, bearing in mind they have had a couple of weeks off, is this a good one to get straight stuck into again?
I think it's a good one because it's at home. We know in the two games that we've had against Crystal Palace in the Cup and Villa in the opening day, obviously, we've had two really good performances and good results. So I think it's less travelling for after the internationals, certainly. So having that home game and getting the supporters back, the supporters will be desperate to see them win again at home. So I think that bit of momentum we have to take into the game.
Before we start looking ahead, let's look back. How do you assess that performance at Spurs, which even that feels like ages ago, doesn't it?
It's a loss at the end of the day, but it was a far better performance than the loss at Brighton. So I think there was plenty of positives in that game. And if you look at Tottenham, they're a top 6 team, and top of the league and haven't conceded a goal. So I think when you look back on it and see the bigger picture, you think, well, that's not a bad result. But I genuinely think there was some big positives in that game.
Yeah, you say about the bigger picture there, but what about individual performances? Were there any that really stuck out to you?
I think for me it was more the team ethic, the way that we've seen in the Crystal Palace game how the shape tended to go to a 4-5-1, and at Tottenham that worked really well. There were certain bits of the attacking play that were certainly better than in the Brighton game. We didn't create as many opportunities as I'd like to see.
Was that just because it was against Spurs though?
Yeah, they're a good team.
Yeah. But
we're back in the Premier League. We'll be playing against good teams every week. I think that's why the key in the next couple of weeks is we get some points around us.
The goal, do you think we're a bit unlucky or a bit of a disappointing one to concede?
We're always disappointed to concede, but I think he's meant it. And, you know, they had other chances as well. It wasn't like it was their only chance of the game. But certainly, yeah, it was disappointing to concede like that, but Son's a top player.
I suppose the overarching positive is, though, we were competitive against a top side, and hopefully throughout the season, if we can manage that each time, there will be points they can pick up along the way, this Watford side.
Yeah, and that's the key to it. We have to be competitive in every game. You know, you can't, whether it's United, Chelsea, Tottenham, you can't just say, well, we're not going to have much of the ball. When we do, we'll try and score. You just can't approach games like that. And I think that in possession, we were far better against Tottenham than we were against Brighton. And you can say, you know, Tottenham had far more possession, but certainly when we had the ball, we were trying to do something with it and trying to create chances.
So that Spurs game a couple of weeks ago now, also in the last fortnight, we have had the departure of our club captain, Troy Deeney. I mean, I don't know how much of a departure it is for you, because I imagine he's still ringing you, isn't he, on the motorway?
Well, I was at the game last night. I did go and watch his debut for Birmingham. Yeah, it's obviously, listen, he's been here a long time. They're like the number 9s here, and they've certainly took him to their hearts. So I'm sure there's a tinge of disappointment for everybody that he's left, but it's a new stage for his career, and he's gone back home, if you like. I know he thought of this club really fondly, and will always do. And I think with Scott and Gino, I think the departure has been handled admirably. I think they've spoken to each other like gentlemen in the end. Perhaps a few mistakes from a few members of staff earlier on, but at the end, Scott and Gino have done the right thing, and between the three of them, they've got it done. Troy's moved on, now Watford have to move on.
And it's great to hear it has been left like that, because he's been the most incredible servant to this club, hasn't he, Troy? And he does leave behind such a great legacy. He
took an awful lot on his shoulders. As captain, you'd expect that. But I think Troy's become... You don't play at this football club for the amount of time that he did and have the success that he had with the promotions and the goals in the Premier League, and not want to stay here forever. You know, that was in Troy's mind. But you're not a footballer if you're not playing football, and he hasn't played in the opening games, and that decision was made. But like I say, I think that the best part of it for me is that it's been done with a gentleman's handshake, and you know, both parties are happy, and that was the key to it for me, because you know, if you leave with a bitter taste in your mouth, that affects you for a long time. And I don't think there is that on this occasion.
Yeah, and I think whilst we're all obviously sad to see him go, it is bittersweet, because he has gone to, you know, his boyhood club, and it's great to see that he's able to do that.
It's great for me. He's taken on an awful lot of pressure. Obviously, I still live in that part of the world, so
they've got high hopes, haven't they, Birmingham?
They have, and they were very strong last night. So yeah, we've had conversations over the last couple of weeks. I don't think it'll stop him phoning me. He'll just be moaning about a different set of players this time around. And I want to see their games, whereas last year I seen every game. So we had a little bit of common ground. But yeah, it's a huge move for him in terms of going back to the Championship for another promotion in his career, because at the end of the day, that's what we all remember as footballers. When it's over, like it is for me, you remember the good days and your teammates around a promotion. Certain games and goals you remember, but the promotions, you never forget a single bit of it, unless you've been in a drinking crew with Paul Robinson, and then that memory tends to fade a little bit, perhaps. But no, I think it's good for him, and I think he's looking, well, I know he's looking really forward to another challenge.
Yeah, and it's not really a goodbye, is it? I think all of us will be tracking his progress. I know there were a lot of fans online that were picking out the fixtures against Luton, against Bournemouth, a good chance for Watford fans, a bit of a vested interest in those ones in particular, but now that Troy is going to be involved as well. Yeah,
and I think, you know, that suggests that the supporters, you know, took him to their hearts as much as he took them to his. So I think the relationship will go on for a long time. He's playing for a different club now, but you never know, he might be back in the future.
Yeah, and you know him on quite a personal level. This really does mean a lot to him, doesn't it? We've touched on it already, but it's a dream come true for him, which is crazy when you think he's achieved so much in his footballing career, but it really is.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's probably a couple of weeks ago now, but he FaceTimed me. Never ever has he FaceTimed me, so I knew something was going on.
Right.
But then he told me what was happening, and you know, I've got to admit, I watched his video from over in the Graham Taylor stand, and I had tears in my eyes. It was like that.
Shock me. You're an emotional guy, Tommy.
But Troy's exactly the same.
Yeah.
You know, he's worn his heart on his sleeve, and he's given everything for the club, as he will for Birmingham now, and as he did well, maybe not at Walsall. Having played with him, I know he didn't put as much into Walsall as he did for Watford. But no, that's the way he is, and why people love him.
Yeah. Well, following that discussion then around one of the club's most iconic ever number 9s, it's a good time to mention that we do have the squad list for this new 2021-22 season. How important is it to players, and how do these things even work? Like, can you state your claim for which shirt you want, or you tell us?
Well, it was important to me. I wanted to be number 9. I was just really lucky that the year we got promoted to the Premier League, the squad numbers came out, and I'd played in 9 at Wembley, so I was delighted to have the 9.
Do you get players that kick up a fuss though if they don't get?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's rows in the dressing room over numbers in years gone by. I don't envisage it being any different now. It's superstition essentially, and the majority of football, you know how superstitious I am, as are you. So that's essentially where it comes from. You know, the Ronaldo wants 7, Deeney wants 9. He couldn't get 9, so he's gone 3 + 6. You know, it happens over and over again, but it's essentially boiled around superstition.
Yeah. So did it ever happen to you at any other clubs? Did you get any other rows when they didn't give you a number 9 shirt?
No, I never took the 9.
Right.
Afterwards, I went to 16 from 9 at Birmingham, right. And then I had 16 a couple of times. I stuck with it. I think strikers, if you score goals in a shirt, you want to keep that number. Yeah. For the defenders, it doesn't matter so much, but the defenders are not as clever as the strikers anyway. So that's the way I always looked at it.
You did mention there very briefly Ronaldo claiming that number 7 when he signed for Man United again. Is that something you would have done, Tommy?
If I got as much money from the merchandise as he does from his CR7, I would have chucked my toys out of the pram. But yeah. I think basically nowadays it's all based around commercial aspects of it, and you can understand why he wants his number 7. Fair play to him for getting it. He's obviously one of the biggest stars in the world, so whatever he wants, he normally gets. Yes,
very true. Likewise. You can get your shirt from the Hornets shop now, so don't hesitate. You can shop online, shop.watfordfc.com. Or in stores. You can get your favourite player and their number on the back of your shirt, or number 9 Mooney. Bit of a tribute there.
I've got a few in the cupboard, just not on modern shirts. Mine are always the size of a single duvet, my shirts.
Right, so nearly a month, I think, since we were last here for our first home game of the season. That was that 3-2 win against Aston Villa. What a thriller it was. But Watford women have played here in the meantime, kicking off their championship season against Liverpool here at Vicarage Road. So that was just 6 days ago. What have you made of the launch of the women's game? It felt like a really big moment last weekend, certainly with the WSL as well. But what do you make of it all?
Yeah, I just think that the profile has been lifted so much in the last probably 18 months, maybe 2 years. And I think the higher you lift the profile, the games at the stadiums is huge. And obviously, you know, Liverpool coming to play Watford is a big fixture, whether that be in the men's game or the women's game. So the more coverage and the more publicity the women's game gets, the more people will go to watch it. So I think it's great with the new league.
Yeah, certainly so. You mentioned there we have plenty of Watford fans here in their numbers turning up to Vicarage Road, making the most of the opportunity. But actually it is something we are seeing across the WSL and the Championship a lot this season, Tommy, that the women's teams do have the opportunity to play in the main stadiums, if you like, which is great, isn't it?
Yeah, and rightly so. I think it helps to lift that profile, and supporters like going to the stadiums, whether it's full or whether it's not. It's still a better game in a stadium than it would be on a training ground.
It's a chance to support Watford, which is what we all like doing.
Absolutely, you know, and they almost came back and got a draw against Liverpool. So in the first game, you know, it's important that they've taken that positive out of the second half of the game.
Yeah, the club very keen, I know, to support Watford women more than ever this season. But I think as part of that, we would like to see more and more fans turning up to their matches. You can see there in the background, the girls applauding the fans that did turn up. They really do appreciate their support. You know what it's like as a player, Tommy, isn't it? There's no better feeling than seeing bums on seats, is it? And hearing those Watford fans getting behind you.
No, absolutely. And from a player, you're almost you need that applause and recognition. And you know, the ladies would be no different. And having the supporters come into the stadium, and essentially they're wearing the Watford badge, whether it be in the men's or ladies game. Get behind the team and come and support them.
Yes, so on that note, I think we can remind you of the fixtures they've got coming up. So a couple of away games there. But another big one here at the home of the Hornets, Vicarage Road, once more. Saturday, the 2nd of October. That is a 2 o'clock kickoff at Vicarage Road. Watford taking on Charlton Athletic. I think that is an international break again as well. So if you're looking for your football fix, then certainly do pop along and make sure that you're following the women here at Vicarage Road as they get their championship season underway. So, back in the Premier League, we have had this international partnership with Odisha FC, which you may have seen announced across the club's website and the social media channels. They're an Indian side, and here is a short film just to explain a little bit more about that partnership.
This shirt is very special to me. As I look at it, it's exciting and very personal, especially me being from an Indian heritage as well. It's so nice to see that Odisha and Watford being on the same shirt. Watford, of course, is very special to me. It's the club I played for, and it's the club that have made me feel extremely special, and I'm excited about the partnership and how we can move together and work together moving forward, and how, yeah, our resources could help you guys and vice versa.
So we're really excited about this partnership with Odisha FC. Back in your day, Tommy, we never really got anything like this, did we?
We had really, really good links with Bushy and Stanmore during my time.
A little bit more international now.
Absolutely. It just shows the strength of the global game, and I think we have to go out into various different parts of the world to promote the club. We've got supports from all around the world. So, you know, hopefully that's the first of many contracts that the club can secure.
Yeah, lots of teams now have these kind of partnerships, and I suppose it is because football clubs, as local as we are at Watford, it is all about this global reach, isn't it? It's a very international thing now, especially if you are in the Premier League. Spreading
and growing the fan base worldwide. Like you say, some of the bigger clubs, they own clubs in different countries, which obviously gives them far more opportunities to travel. But certainly, you know, I think it's massive that we have those connections, whether it be with clubs or certainly at some point in different countries, and I think it only helps the brand.
Just counting down to kick off then here on Hive Live. So we've got just over a couple of hours to go until we'll be getting underway here at Vicarage Road. Our opposition this afternoon, Wolverhampton Wanderers. So let's talk about them in a bit more depth now. Yet to get off the mark under Bruno Lage, but what have you made of what you've seen of them, Tommy, performance-wise?
I think they still maintain the work ethic that they have, that they had last season. It's going to be different because you could argue that they've overachieved in the last couple of seasons. They've started to do things like a bigger club from the Midlands. You know, I see a fair bit at Wolves, and they've always been one of those where you think just staying up is success for them. I think last season perhaps and going into Europe suggests that they are moving on an extra step. And obviously losing the manager to Tottenham was a big loss for them. But the new manager's come in. I think he's trying to carry on things in the same vein, but tweaking things and doing it maybe slightly differently, maybe more attacking than they have been previously. But then they've got some really dangerous players, and obviously Jimenez coming back in after his terrible head injury is a massive plus for them.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a moment or two and a few of the other individuals. But what do you think then the expectations should be from Wolves fans this season, given the transition really they're going through? Because their identity really will have changed with Nuno's departure and now Bruno Lage coming in. And there's been a few different players sprinkled in there as well. Yeah,
I think it's going to be difficult for them. The momentum that they had under the previous head coach has gone. There's some of the players that are still there, and they do still have some very good players, like you say. But with every managerial change, causes a little bit of insecurity in the dressing room, and I suppose to the supporters and the football club. So they're going to have to build from that again. That platform where they were has gone. So they need to start building again, and they've had a difficult start to the season, but it's the Premier League. We know how difficult a division it is.
Yeah, I mean, we saw there on the graphic in the last 3 seasons they finished 7th twice and 13th. So what do you think they should be aiming for in the table?
I think if they stay in the Premier League, if they stay in the Premier League, they've had a good season, and there's probably 7 or 8 teams that have that very same thought. So yeah, it's going to be really difficult for them. They're going to need goals from Jimenez And they managed to keep Traore in the transfer window, so that's a big plus for them.
What have you made of Jimenez's recovery so far? And I suppose going forward, can you appreciate the kind of challenge he will now face psychologically as well after going through an injury like that?
I think that's the hardest part for him, you know, to be on the goal trail like he was, and then to get an injury like that. I think, you know, I've had blows to the head, but nothing as severe and serious as he had. He's a really, really good footballer and a good goal scorer, and we know how important those are in this division. So, yeah, I think for him it'll be getting over it psychologically. There'll always be a bit of concern with any contact that he has, but we also know it's a contact sport, and you know he will score goals with his head and he'll take head contact, but he has to trust the medical staff. They say he's okay, he's okay.
Yeah, and do you think he could be as good as he was? I mean, he's clearly going, it's all in the right direction, but do you think he'll hit that level?
I think it'll be difficult for him because I don't think that they'll create as many chances for him to score goals as they did perhaps in the years gone by. But I still have no doubt about his ability. He's a top striker, and if he was playing in another club, I would expect him to score more goals than he'll get for Wolves.
What about Adama Traore?
Yeah, Adama's he's a strange one. I was his translator when he signed for Aston Villa, and that
I'd love to have seen those conversations.
That perhaps tells you how bad he was at Aston Villa. You could blame me for it because he had no clue what was going on.
Yeah.
But you see, he's electric pace. He's obviously grown a lot in size as he's aged over the couple of years. He's got more used to England. He really couldn't cope with it when he first came. But now he's got an end product which he never had at Aston Villa, and he had minimal end product at Middlesbrough, so it was a risk for Wolves to take him. But he's certainly developed into a very, very good player. Defensively, I'm not sure what you could get out of him. Maybe that's where he's improved at Wolves, but still very exciting player.
Do you think it's Nuno really then who we should give credit to that's unlocked his full potential?
Yeah, and I think lots of players move when managers move. And the fact that he's gone in for him straight away is a big key to maybe his Spanish is better than my Spanish.
What's he like? Because obviously you would have spent a bit of time with him. We can see what an incredible footballer and athlete he is. But what about as a person?
He's a loon that can't read a watch. He was late. He was late at least once a week at Villa. He owed Aston Villa money. He got fined so much for being late. He just couldn't grasp it. In fact, on one occasion, he blamed that his clock was on Spanish time.
Right.
But then he realised that he would have been an hour early. If that had actually been the case, it was just a terrible excuse.
I mean, yeah, real credit to Nuno then for getting the best out of him as a player. And actually, on that note, we'll close this conversation by talking about Bruno Lage. I think he came from Benfica, joining Wolves. So he's new to the Premier League, new to a lot of football fans. But what have you made so far of the job he's done? Because there's been potential in their performances. We saw earlier in the graphic, they're only losing by 1-0 each time. It does make you wonder if it will just come alive for them. Hopefully not today against us.
Oh, well, hopefully not today. Yeah, it's a difficult job. To follow the success of Nuno, it's a really difficult job for him. And you can see, I'm sure there's plenty of this on the training ground with his tactics board.
Detail, yeah.
And he will have an awful lot of detail. And you know, attention to detail is essentially what professional means. So it's, you know, he'll have plenty of that. I think that they perhaps haven't spent the money that they have done in previous seasons under Nuno. So he's battling with that as well, and they're trying to get the squad a little bit younger, but they do have some very, very good technically gifted footballers in possession of the ball. Maybe that's where they struggle a little bit when they're out of possession.
The general narrative around this Wolves side does seem to be that they're creating a lot, but just not taking those chances. So I do wonder how much of that really is down to the coach. Is it just the players not firing on the day?
Yeah, I think it's far easier to create a chance than it is to score a chance. We know that. But also the fact that they are creating chances. We talked about Watford earlier on in the season. If you're creating chances, the goals are going to come at some point. Because, you know, once a striker scored his first goal or somebody else is in a rich vein of form in goal scoring, you tend to score goals more often than you miss. So I think that's going to be the key for them. We just hope that they have to wait another week for it.
Yes, hopefully it'll be Watford's day today, as it was a few weeks ago here against Aston Villa. One of the goal scorers that day, Emmanuel Dennis. So we're going to continue our pre-match build-up now by hearing from Emmanuel Dennis, who has made a very impressive start to the Premier League.
Wolves haven't managed a point yet. You guys are sitting in the middle of the table. How important is this game for you to get those 3 points?
It's really important for us. In the Premier League, every point is really important. So we will really fight and get the 3 points, and we just really have been working hard for the game and then getting ready because we really need the 3 points. And then obviously they also gonna come like they really wants to win because they haven't been playing good. I don't know. So I mean, it's gonna be a really interesting game. So
you seem to have settled in quickly. Was there anyone particularly that helped you settle in or anything? You've got some good friends here?
Everybody, from the first day I came, everybody was just like, it's like I've already knew them from before. You see, it was like I came and we just like vibing, having fun, laughing together. It's like I knew them from somewhere or something, and it's like I'm just meeting them for the first time. It's like connection was just real and stuff, so I was really happy. So I'm having a good time.
So Emmanuel Dennis there, one of the club's new signings this summer, and he seems to be settling quite well, doesn't he?
Certainly helps when you get a goal on your debut, doesn't it? So he's started off extremely well. Finished pre-season at Crystal Palace with a strong performance too. So he seems to be rolling on those performances, and you know we're going to need some goals from him this season. So hopefully that continues. We are. They're big shoes to fill, big boots, I should say. But he does seem to be up for the challenge, doesn't he? Seems very focused when we've heard from him. Yeah, absolutely. And his performances have certainly been better than that earring. I'm not sure about that at all. But if he keeps scoring goals, I'll get him another one. He was talking a little bit about the Wolves game today. Do you think this could be another one for him to add to that goal tally? I think all players look forward to home games and having the atmosphere in the stadium and the supporters. So yeah, he'll be really looking forward to that. And also, you want to get back on playing. The international break is, it's a nice rest period, but you want to be playing, and certainly they'll be looking forward to that today. We do have a little bit of a reputation here for signing players which aren't necessarily household names, but then making them into household names. Can you see him kind of following in those footsteps of players that have done that? I think he'll be judged on his goals as a striker. You're judged on your goals. Interestingly, he can play wide as well, though, so he's got a little bit more skills than we perhaps have seen at the moment. Whether he plays centrally, it'll be difficult for him in this division because we know how physical it is. Going wide, he might get a little bit more success. So yeah, I think with all new players, whether it be Emmanuel or anybody else, the jury's always out until they succeed. You just hope that they succeed as quickly as possible. I suppose the early signs are, though, that he's going to suit Xisco's methods. Yeah, I think it's certainly a style of play that looks to suit him. You know, he likes to move the ball quickly. His link up with Ismaïla Sarr has been really positive in the first couple of games. We just need to see more of the performance against Aston Villa as opposed to Brighton and Tottenham. Well, it's all about Wolverhampton Wanderers here at the home of the Hornets this afternoon. We can take a look now at the upcoming fixtures. So we're away at Carrow Road next against Norwich City, then back here in the Cup once more in the Tommy Mooney derby. Looking forward to that one. And then back home once more against Newcastle United. That's quite a nice run of fixtures, isn't it, as it goes, now being a Premier League side? Yeah, it is. Norwich will be a difficult game away from home too, but then with 2 home games, certainly a good chance in the Cup against one of my old teams. Your loyalties are going to be divided that day, aren't they? But there can only be one winner. I'm getting sick and tired of you mentioning this now. As you right to celebrate the goal, so you know. No, a good opportunity with Newcastle at home as well to finish that group of 3 off. Do you think Xisco and his team are looking at that run of fixtures and giving themselves a minimum target, do you think, of points they should be taking? I think they'll always set points targets. Some managers do it in groups of 3, 4 or 6. Yeah. But managers always say every game in the Premier League is hard. Granted, it is, but will they be looking at those kind of matches and thinking we've got to be getting
3 points here, a point here.
Yeah, 100% they will. What goes through a training ground and a dressing room is very different to what the media sees and what everybody else sees outside. They'll have targets. They'll certainly have targets, and they'll want 4 points from the next 2 league games, and they'll want to go further in the cup.
The time has just gone 1 o'clock, so we can reveal the winners of the August Player of the Month Award and Goal of the Month Award. So Player of the Month first. I mean, there was a number of candidates, particularly from that performance here at Vicarage Road when we kicked off the season against Aston Villa with that 3-2 win. But the winner, we've been talking about him already, Emmanuel Dennis. So congratulations to him, and Tommy, a great chance to see some footage of him in action. I'm sure we'll see the goal as well.
Yeah, and like I've already mentioned, it's great on your debut to get off the mark with a goal as early as he did. But his performance, at times he was electric in that game, and we just hope that it's exactly the same in today's game again at Vicarage Road. But he's certainly very confident with the ball, likes the ball into his feet in all areas of the pitch, and we see with the link-up play, gets an assist to add to his goal in the opening game against Villa.
Bit of pace and tricky footwork, and when you think you've got the likes of Sarr next to him as well, it must be a bit of a defender's nightmare, isn't it?
Well, we've already said I don't think Matt Targett's still recovered
no.
From Aston Villa, so between the two of them, they gave him a really tough time, as well as Tyrone Mings. So yeah, we definitely want to see more of that.
So congratulations to Emmanuel Dennis, the August Player of the Month here at Watford. So the Goal of the Month award goes to Cucho Hernandez. So I think we should be able to see this again, back to that Villa game. What a strike this was, and with the backstory as well, Tommy, it's great. Yeah,
no, it was great for him, and you say he on the bench coming in from wide within a minute of his debut, which sounds strange because he'd been at the club for 4 seasons, something like that.
54 seconds, wasn't it, to be
54 seconds. I like how you steal my stats as soon as we go live. That's great. I appreciate that, but it's noted. Yeah, brilliant for him, brilliant for the club, and you know, it was just one of those days against Aston Villa. Everything came off, and that's not an easy finish. But
I just think as well, he would have been visualising that moment for years, literally years. He's been with Watford Football Club. Then to come on and do that within a minute, it's quite something, isn't it? Yeah, he will. That'll be one goal he goes to. If he's ever low in confidence, or maybe he's not scored for a game or two, that'll be one of the clips that he goes back to. He might be disappointed with that Barnet a couple of times later on, but you certainly can't argue with the finish. It was outstanding. I feel like we need to see some kind of like beauty or fashion segment now. You've got so much to say about... There's no point having me in it then, is there? I'm definitely underqualified. Oh, God. Right, we've got just under 2 hours to go until kick-off here at Vicarage Road. The Hornets looking to get back to winning ways once more, as we were last time we were here against Aston Villa. So final thoughts from you, Tommy, in a moment or two. But first, here's the thoughts of our manager, Xisco Munoz.
Just finally, on this game with Wolves, they've yet to take a point so far. What are your thoughts about this match going into it?
It's we have in front a very good team. It's true they don't have points, but they have a very good player. They have a very good style. They have a very good manager. They have a very good things. It's very difficult to try the attack with different space because they have a different order. They have a very good transition. I think we need to try to give our 100% for take the points because it's important for us. Continue with the same attitude with the last games, but it's important also we have a little more ambition and we try to take the points. And we know we have in front a good team, a strong team, and sure we have a very good game because we need our fans give a very good atmosphere in this important game because it's our second game at home, and we need everyone leave the game with the passion, with power, and try when the first minutes try to give 1+ for our team because we need our atmosphere in the maximum full power because it's important. We start in the game very, very, very hard.
Xisco there just talking about the tempo at which we need to start this one, much like against Aston Villa. Would you agree with him? Get out there, out of the blocks quick?
Yeah, I think, it's particularly in home games. You have to start the game well, and the better you start the game, normally you have a little bit more possession of the ball. So I would hope for plenty of that today. And like you say, if we can match that tempo and spirit of the Villa opening game, then that'll be great.
I think home form is going to be everything this season as well, isn't it? If we want to stay in the league once more, and you need to make the most of having the fans there and all that noise, and I suppose the adrenaline the players are going to get from that, which they wouldn't have had last season. Yeah,
and it goes back to the superstitions that the players have. It's easier to have that routine when you're at home because you know exactly where you are. I'm parked in a superstitious car park space today as well, so hopefully that's a good sign. Yeah, I forgot to mention that. So yeah, I think that's the key to it for the players is starting the game quickly, and it's just everybody gets a little bit more confident and enthused when you're on the front foot in a game.
Just realised I think I'm parked in more or less the same spot as well against Aston Villa. Oh. So there we go. If they win, nothing to do with individual performances. We'll be analysing the car park, won't we, next time? Shall I push you for a prediction? We did this a lot with Robbo last season. It's actually ended up with a job at Millwall if you fancy heading in that direction. So
it's a little bit far to travel for me, Millwall. Although Robbo's doing it from the Midlands, so he'd be all right. I'll just jump in the back. We'll car share if that's what you're trying to do and get rid of me off to Millwall. Prediction?
Yeah.
I couldn't do any worse than Robbo, could I?
No, this is true. Or would you take a point, or should we go for all three? What do you think the attitude should be around
No,
that?
I think at home we have to go for all three. Yeah, have to go for all three. Away from home, I take a point all day.
Yeah.
But at home, particularly, I just think we play better on the front foot, and at home we have more opportunity to do that. So I'd be looking for the same tempo from Aston Villa, and it's not a dissimilar day. It's sunny. There'll be plenty of supporters in here. So if we can match that atmosphere, we've got more chance of matching the result.
Well, we look forward to hearing more of you on commentary come 3 o'clock, especially after the performances from Rob Elliott, Tommy Hoban.
I'm under an awful lot of pressure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Pressure's on. Never mind these Watford players.
I know. I'm feeling it. Honestly, I had a full fringe before this season, and now I'm so worried about it.
So that will be available, Tommy's commentary alongside John Marks for today's game against Wolverhampton Wanderers. That will be available via the club's website. So 3 o'clock today's kickoff here at Wolves. We hope you've enjoyed that build-up. It's been great to have you with us as we count down to kick off. It's Watford against Wolverhampton Wanderers.